Hey preschool, good morning, it's Kyle. So, a lot of you may have heard, and I've shown some of you some pictures, but today I wanted to show you how I made my very own climbing wall in my backyard. It's been a little bit of a process, but do you know how I always tell you to move your body, to exercise, and to stay in a routine? Well, I found myself not able to do the one thing that I love to do the most, which is climb. I can't go to a climbing gym in New Haven, I can't really go outside to climb, so the one thing that I did to help my body, physically and mentally, was to work and to construct. But there were a lot of steps that went behind this. So first, I want to show you some pictures of some of the really early parts of this project. All right, cool. To help with making holds, I first created a workshop in my basement. This is what it looked like. I wanted to make my own holds because if you buy them, they can be very expensive. Plus, this was something that gave me lots of things to do during my days. Once I had my holds, I made a structure that looked just like the finished product so that I could know in my mind what it was going to look like, also to practice the measurements. Here we are when I started building. As you can see, it doesn't look like a climbing wall just yet. But as I slowly started to raise it, it started to take shape. Now this wall was very heavy, so I needed help from Natalie and my brother-in-law Danny to help to lift this whole climbing wall up. Here it is. Now it's not done yet, but what you can see is the shape of this climbing wall. Zoom in, you'll see my big smile. As it starts to finish, I wanted to see if I could climb the back of it, so I put some boards on the back to climb all the way to the top. Next, I had to put the plywood up. So I started taking the plywood and putting it up one piece by one piece all the way to the top until it looked like this. Then you can start to see the little wooden holds go on. Those are the holds that I climb on. All right, now that I showed you how I made the climbing wall first with a very small model so that my mind could kind of get around the measurements, I want to show you some of the tools that I used. The first tool I want to show you is used for cutting. This one right here is called a circular saw. And it has a really sharp blade here, and this saw helps me to make very straight cuts on some of the bigger pieces of wood. So when you see some of the angled beams and the plywood that's painted black right now, some of that needed to be cut with the circular saw. Another saw that I used was a jigsaw. Now this jigsaw helps me to make smaller cuts, but also rounded cuts. So if I need to make something that has a rounded curve, I could use this jigsaw. The next tool I used is a power drill. Now this power drill helped me to make some of the rock climbing holds. Some of the holds that you see up there. And we'll talk about those after, but this is a drill that helped me to do that. The next one, it looks just like the drill, but this is an impact driver. And it really helps for the screws to go in. I don't have to use as much muscle to do it. This impact driver really pushes in the screws and pulls them out when I need them. The next tool I used was another one for making the climbing holds. This is an angle grinder. And depending on what kind of wheel you have on here, you can cut through metal, but the pad that I have on is a sanding pad, and it helped me to shape the different climbing holds that I have. And we'll talk about this one later too. The next tool that I have here is they call it a caulking gun, but in here I have really strong glue, and some of this glue helped to hold in certain parts of the climbing wall. Then right down here, some of the other tools that I have is a sawhorse. This whole thing helps to hold wood so I can cut and work on it. A clamp that opens and closes around the wood that I'm working on to hold it into place. I have two different size Allen wrenches, and these help with some of the climbing holds as well. And one of the most important things I have, and helped me a lot, was my measuring tape, because I wanted to make sure that all of my measurements were correct so that the wall wasn't only strong, it was really safe. Now, let's go a little closer and I'll show you the wall. Alright, so now that we learned about some of the tools, I want to show you the actual wall itself. This wall, let me grab the measuring tape. See if I can show you exactly how tall this wall is. I can get it way up there, and all the way to the ground. This wall, if it were to stand up, is 12 feet tall. That would be 2 Teacher Kyles on top. The next thing I want to show you are all of these beams to the side. These beams help to make this wall very strong and help so that this wall doesn't fall over or tip backwards while someone is climbing on it, or with a really big gusty wind. Now, as you look at this wall, do you see all of these wooden things on here? Come a little closer. These are my climbing holds, and all of these I decided to make myself so that I could make them perfect for my hands and what I wanted. And on this wall, there are lots of little holes, and these holes can be moved using this wrench. This is an Allen wrench, and it is attached to the wall with a bolt. So I can put the Allen wrench in, and let me show you how this works. I'll take this hold off. Now every hold has a bolt in it just like this, as well as, oh, it's stuck inside, so you'll be able to see a metal washer on the inside, and that helps the bolt to be able to stay nice and snug. But it goes through, and then anywhere on this wall that there's a little hold, there's a metal part in the back called a T-nut, and that T-nut takes this bolt and holds it in very strong on the wall. So I can move these around, I can turn them, I can make new ones with different shapes. And then as you look at this wall, you're gonna see that it is a black color. This black color I chose because it is actually a chalkboard paint. So just like we have in our classroom, you could use some chalk and you could draw all over it, but the way that I do it is I try to think of different ways to get to the top, and holds that I can use and holds that I cannot use. But you can also say anything else you want on here, like, hi, preschool. Just like that. How cool. And then if you look down, I have the crash pads in case I fall. I have a little bit of chalk over here to put on my hands. And what this chalk does is it takes away all of the moisture on my fingers. So as I'm climbing, I don't slip and fall. So the chalk, the white chalk, helps me to be a little safer while I'm climbing. And then I also have some of my special climbing shoes, which help me to use my feet to get to the top of the wall. Pretty cool, huh? All right, before I show you how to actually climb on this wall, I want to talk about some of the different kinds of holds. If you look at this one, your hand can come around the back, and this is a pretty big hold, something that climbers are going to call a jug, because you can put your whole fingers behind it. There are some other holds on the wall where you can just put your fingertips, and those are called crimps. If a hold has a very flat spot, it's just simply called an edge. If there is a hold that is very round and you can't really put your fingers on it, that is a hold that's called a sloper. And then, depending on which way the hold is facing, you can go this way and call it a Gaston. You can go this way and call it a side pull, or there's even holds that are upside down where you have to go underneath it, and that has a special name of an undercling. And using all those different styles of holds, you're gonna start somewhere at the bottom and try to follow and create your own path to the top. Now, should I finally show you what it looks like to climb on this wall? All right, I'm gonna be safe with my crash pads, making sure that there's no one or anything underneath me. I hope I can do it. All right, preschool, I'm gonna show you what it's like to climb on this wall now. But first, I need to put on my climbing shoes. Natalie thinks they're pretty stinky. Velcro them up nice and tight. And then I want to come over and put a little bit of this white chalk on my hands so that I know I'm being safe and I'm not going to slip. And then when I need to come down, I have to very carefully drop and land. All right, thanks for checking out my climbing wall. Hopefully we can figure out a way to get one of these at our school so we can do